I love Spider-Man. He always has and always will be my favourite superhero. He has some really unique superpowers, one of them being Spider Sense, the ability to sense incoming danger and react accordingly. So what if our friendly neighbourhood Spidey never got hit? I'm here to answer the question, can you beat Spider-Man without taking any damage? Here are the rules. Unless the game forces it, I'm not allowed to take any damage at all. If I do take damage, I have to restart from the last checkpoint and try again. I'm also not going to include the Miles or MJ missions because you can't take damage in them anyway. And I'm playing it on the hardest difficulty setting. Let's get started. Whilst listening to ASMR police scanner to help him sleep, Peter learns that Fisk Tower is under siege by the NYPD because the Kingpin has been selling stolen V-Bucks cards. So after suiting up, I swing over there to lend a hand. Some vagabonds blow up a truck, which means I have my first combat encounter. Now, this is a tutorial, so the fact that I didn't get hit doesn't mean much. Once the ne'er-do-wells have been apprehended, I swing over to Fisk Tower to help with the main assault. The second I get in there though, I get shot. On the second try I knock their teeth out without any issues. The game injures me to teach me how to heal, then I make my way to the server room so I can stop Big Baldy from deleting his internet history. He retaliates by sending his goons in to stop me. After knocking some sense into them and saving some Millicent bystanders, I fight my way to Fisk's office. But when I get there, the SWAT officers decide to change teams. I was doing really well until I got shot in the back, and I stupidly walked into some fire. Eventually I managed to deal with them, but once I get into Fisk's office, I end up getting absolutely humiliated by his turrets. Once I finally get rid of him, Kingpin and his morons knock me around a hell of a lot before I finally manage to put the giant egg into the doghouse. Now that he's off to jail, I head to Otto's lab to experience some foreshadowing. Then I stop some crimes and make a new suit. Now the run can truly begin. After clearing out the pests from one of Humpty Dumpty's construction sites for Yuri, I swing by Feast to attend Aunt May's party, then check out a break-in at an auction house. This mission went smoother than silk. After a brief interaction with MJ, I absolutely destroyed the demons without taking a single hit. After a well-deserved french fry break, I race over to Shocker to stop him from half-inching some mood rings. He does a runner, so I chase him. But because I dodged forward instead of to the side whilst he was shooting at me, he managed to blast me right in the kisser. On my second attempt, I managed to catch up to him without any mishaps. Now that he's back in jail, I have a quick bagel break, then craft a classic suit to get the Web Blossom suit power. I head over to Otto's lab and meet Norman Osborn.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Who shuts down our project, meaning my only job now is fighting crime. You won't hear any complaints from me though, cracking skulls is my favourite pastime. Speaking of, Shocker's back in action and trying to rob a bank, so I'm off to stop him. This time, hopefully for good. Shocker's blasts are incredibly easy to avoid, so much so that the fight didn't last very long at all. I drop a chandelier on him so the fuzz can finally arrest him. Now I have to go to the docks to investigate a potential weapons cache. After webbing up all the reprobates guarding it, Miles' dad shows up to help me. We do a little detective work and manage to find the underground weapons storage. But it turns out it's been ransacked by the demons. So after getting shot whilst trying to fight them, I managed to put them on their arses, and some of them escape in a truck. They didn't get very far though, because after I catch up to them, the driver ends up having an accident and I almost get run over. Luckily, Jeff saves me and the demons are promptly arrested. After that shit show, I have another long ordeal of trying to get my stuff back because my landlord kicked my ass to the curb for not paying my rent. Once I manage to retrieve it, I make a web bomb and test it out on some ne'er-do-wells. Then I head to Feast to crash on Aunt May's office sofa. After a well-needed rest, I head over to a construction site to stop the demons from killing people. After beating the shit out of them with no trouble, I get some FaceTime with the egg. He asks me to protect the rest of his men from getting game ended. After obliging, I got hit over and over again, before I finally managed to knock 7 bales of shit out of them. Then some of them tried to escape in a helicopter, and knocked over a crane in the process. After stopping it from killing anyone, I chase the helicopter around whilst it destroys everything. I'm starting to think that I'm not very good at this superhero business. After catching up with it, I stop them from causing any further destruction by webbing the arseholes to a building. Then I head to City Hall to watch Miles' dad get a Medal of Honor for his bravery. Unfortunately though, he gets his arse blown out of his mouth by a complete degenerate. and Peter is knocked unconscious. After this, I press F to pay my respects, then do some side activities so I can upgrade my gadgets. Once that's done, I head to a recycling plant to check out a lead on a possible demon base. It's crawling with them, but if there's one thing I'm good at, it's exterminating pests. After learning that the demons are hoarding weapons and explosives to make truck bombs, I head over to Consolidated Shipping because that's where they're keeping them. After trying to go in loud and failing miserably, I remembered that spiders are known for taking their time to catch their prey, so I slowly took them out one by one and bided my time. After searching for all of their shit like an overly concerned parent, I find out that they have bases all across the city, but I think I'll let the police handle those. Then I get attacked by a Whiplash wannabe. After taking him out in record time, I humiliate another wave of idiots, then Sable's stormtroopers show up, and she tries to play a game of my dick is bigger than yours. After Yuri tells her where to stick it, I pop over to Feast to snoop around Martin Lee's office. All I discovered though was that he's a bloody lunatic, but I knew that already. Then Otto calls me over to the lab because he needs a hand with something. After stopping one of the demon's truck bombs, I head over to MJ's for dinner, but before I could tuck in, I have to shoot off to save Charlie Boy from being kidnapped by Lee's yobbos. After getting my arse cheek blown off, I kicked their heads in. It took me a couple of attempts to actually get to Charlie's penthouse, but once I do, I clear it out with no issues. Then when trying to get Charles out of his gamer room, I get attacked by a Wish.com Jedi and his gang of idiots. They didn't land a single hit on me though. Because of this, they resorted to trying to gun us down with a helicopter. Cheating wankers. Charlie Boy falls down a lift shaft, but I manage to save him before he pulls a Gwen. Now I get to go to a Halloween party. Although I can't really let loose and enjoy myself because I have to save Isaac Delaney, who gets taken away by the demons because this meathead sack of shit decides to act like a bloody reprobate. I use Web Blossom to destroy some demons in a matter of seconds, then smacks around more of them in the next room. By the time I finally get to Delaney, Martin has already possessed him, and to make matters worse, he also puts me on my arse, then forces Delaney to unalive himself. After fighting my way out of the building, I frustratingly get tenderized like meat on a butcher's table by these university students. I don't know why, but for some reason I found them incredibly hard to dodge. After finally knocking some sense into them, I get rid of the Rhino wannabe and make my escape. Then I swing over to Oscorp to find out why the demons are so interested in capturing their scientists. Once I break into Norman's office, I find out that he accidentally made COVID, but he hid it to protect his mayoral campaign. Ah, politicians. The cause of 90% of society's fuck-ups. Whilst I was doing that, MJ decided to sneak into a heavily guarded Sable base to talk to Charlie Boy, but I ended up ruining it by scaring him to the point that he knocked himself out, and now MJ's mad at me. While she calls off, I head back to the lab to watch Otto practice his circus act in case the scientist gig goes tits up. Now I have to help Sable escort Dr. Michaels and the COVID sample to a safe location. They didn't ask me to do this, so Sable will probably blow a gasket when she finds out. It's a good thing I did come though, because the second they got him in the car, the demons show up in a massive tank and make the stormtroopers look like Comic-Con cosplayers. Despite their negligence, I give chase and try to stop them. After getting my jaw realigned on my first attempt, I eventually managed to get through the entire fight without taking a hit. Once I make it to the cockpit, Mr. Lee pulls me into his little pocket dimension, and I have to have a boss fight with him. His cronies smack me around for about 20 minutes until I finally manage to clean Martin's clock, which pulls me out of the pocket dimension just in time to crash the tank into the side of a building. To make matters worse, Martin Lee also manages to escape, which Sable turns out to be quite pissed off about. After she kicks my teeth in, Martin shows up at Grand Central Station to try and spread the virus using an Oscorp dispersal device. So after helping MJ take out some of his lackeys, she defuses the device, I kick the shit out of his Opus Oppos, and chase Martin onto a train. After bitch slapping him without breaking a sweat, I stop the train from killing any pedestrians, he goes off to jail, then I go to see Otto. This time though, he has more limbs, and he's melting his brain using them. After I leave the lab, he has the world record of going mad with power in the shortest time possible. After that I spend some quality time with Aunt May, then I get word that there's been a breakout at Rikers Island prison. So me and Yuri race over there to lend a hand. This mission took the fucking piss. I kept getting hit constantly by these bloody prisoners. When I finally get them under control, all the supervillains break out of the raft. After beating the snot out of the minor-powered goons, I give chase to Electro. When I finally catch up to him, all the supervillains gank the shit out of me, and Doc Ock throws me into the sea and leaves me for dead. Then he decides to act like an utter maniac and starts a pandemic in Times Square. I awake 24 hours later to find the city in absolute chaos, so it would seem I've got a lot of work to do. Rhino and Electro are causing some chaos at 2 different police precincts, so I head over to where Rhino is to deal with that situation first. I'm glad I did, because it took a while to get through this mission. I kept getting my rocker knocked constantly by these dirty criminals. I managed to apprehend them, then these Boba Fett wannabes show up. I take the first 2 out fairly quickly, but they prove to be more problematic than I realised. After taking, and this is no joke, over an hour of getting smacked around like an alcoholic's child, I eventually mop up the rest of the crackheads, and head over to the other precinct to clean up Electro's mess. Everything went relatively smoothly, but trying to dodge the snipers proved to be more problematic than I thought. After taking out all the goons, and saving the precinct from becoming a giant bug zapper, I send the rest of the demons to Con College. Then I head to Feast to save Aunt May and Miles from being burnt to a crisp. After almost getting barbecued myself, I head to Times Square to see if I can figure out where the science squid ran off to. After finding his base, I rummage through his stuff, then he tries to blow me up. Bit of an overreaction if you ask me. Immediately after this, Vulture ambushes me and carts my ass through the streets all the way to Electro so they can assassinate me. Electro tries to fight me one-on-one, which doesn't end well for him. Then Vulture tries, which has the same result. So they resort to ganking me. The problem with this is, they telegraph their attacks with over-the-top gestures and movements. So I easily countered every move they made without taking any damage at all. After Electro gets grounded, I clip Vulture's wings and leave them for the bobbies. After a well-needed nap, I swing by Central Park to deal with Scorpion. Things don't go as planned, however, because he jumps me and pumps me with enough acid to put a hippo into a coma. Aside from a few minor scrapes and bruises, I successfully survived my psychedelic fever dream. Unfortunately though, Scorpion escaped whilst I was reenacting Woodstock. Thanks to Miles, I find out that he's at the docks with Rhino causing a ruckus. So I head over there as fast as I can to teach them a lesson. When I get there, Rhino is all on his own. After dancing circles around him, Scorpion finally decides to join the punching party. He's not as slow as Rhino, but he's equally as dumb, so I kick his teeth in with no problems. Then turn my attention to Rhino, and he goes down just as easy. Then Dumb and Dumber turn on each other and end up trapped in a shipping container. A nice little present for the cops. Meanwhile, MJ's at Norman's apartment gathering information on the cure for Oscorp's little fuck-up. She picks up an 8-legged hitchhiker, then I save her after she jumps off a balcony. Now I'm off to Oscorp to rescue Norman from Martin Lee and his shenanigans. It took a while to actually get in there though, because the Empire's best and brightest humbled me repeatedly. Eventually, Sable shows up, and she deals with the demon reinforcements, whilst I go after Lee. I arrive just in time to stop Norman from having his ear van goffed, which causes Lee to have a tantrum. The first phase of his fight was so easy, I could probably have beat it in my sleep. The second phase was no walk in the park though, but I managed to find a cheese method. If you just swing around, Martin Lee will spam this laser beam attack that is incredibly easy to dodge. Eventually he'll tire himself out, so you can just wail on him. After formally introducing my foot to his face, I pick up the cure, then Squiddly Diddly shows up and throws me around like a ragdoll, almost killing me. Then he escapes with both the cure and Norman. After some brief respite, Miles gets chomped by MJ's little hitchhiker, then I hitch a ride on the subway to Otto's lab to build a suit to help me fight him. Once I'm geared up, I save Norman from becoming a jam stain on the pavement, then I confront Mr. Puss. This fight took a very long time to beat. I did surprisingly well dodging his attacks, but the fight lasts a very long time, so I would get through a decent chunk of it, then I would get happy slapped, and have to restart the entire fight again. After a long, grueling, repeating cycle of disappointments, eventually I get him to his last phase, which was a piece of piss. I wailed on him repeatedly until we fall off the building and he lands directly on his spine. Now that Dr. Calamari has been apprehended, I return to Dr. Isaac with the cure. And with that, I beat Spider-Man without taking any damage. This run was a lot more frustrating than I thought it would be, but I still had a blast with it. Originally, I was going to restart the entire run if I got hit, but unfortunately, it would have taken way too long to get this video out. But I think this way worked just as well. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe? It helps out the channel massively. Plus, if you hit the notification bell, you'll get notified when yours truly drops more juicy content. Also, I have a Discord server. Feel free to join and share your best memes. The link is in my channel bio and I'll drop it into the description. If there's a specific video you want to see me make, or you just want to say hi, drop a comment down below or pop over to the Discord server. And I'll see you next time.